the guys from Ping, they've kind of shown me how much the equipment matters.
I just love that I can hit any shot I kind of want.
We're going to be able to tell some fun stories about what goes on here to help golfers play better golf.
Welcome back to the Ping Proving Grounds podcast. I'm Shane Bacon. That is Marty Jertson. We are in the Ping truck, the tour truck. Corey Connors is here, by the way, Marty.
Yeah.
You see him?
Yeah. And you're having a fantastic year, very consistent. And we're excited to deep dive into a few topics.
Before we get into your golf game, I was told before we got going that you have an amazing golf room. Can we expand a little bit on this golf room? Because I didn't get any details. I don't know if there's like a simulator in there. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, my wife and I are both from a small town, Listowel, Ontario, Canada. So we built a house there. We've been living it this summer and was able to design the house from scratch and, of course, tried to fit in ample space to put a nice golf room. So, I've got a simulator, Foresight, GC Hawk, and pretty cool, fun to play games, can practice, familiar with the Foresight, data, and, it's good to check in on things, or good to be able to check in on things while at home. I've also got a putt view putting green, so it projects lines and can set up drills, and it's a really cool tool that, I've loved just messing around with, and it's as much fun as it is work. But I think you can, learn a lot from it or take a lot from it in just some short practice sessions. So it's been pretty fun to have the ability to keep the game sharp. The weather's great in Canada throughout the summer, but I've found myself, getting dirty in the golf room, and my almost 2-year-old daughter Reese, every morning she's saying dada balls, dada ball.
So she's
right in there. Yeah, she's likes teeing up the balls, and she's got a little putter knocking them around the putting green, and it's pretty fun to share that with her too. But it's a cool space and something that I'm happy I fit into the design. It's turned out great.
I need your parental advice on this because my 4-year-old son just zero interest in golf. He did ask yesterday for his putter. We got him one of the Ping putters, and he asked for the red one because my daughter got the yellow one. He said, "Is this the red one, Dad?" But no interest. How did this happen?
Yeah, I think just organically. I think,
okay.
She really hasn't. She's still really, really young, but just she's daddy's girl, so she wants to be with dad whenever we're home, and if dad's putting or chipping or hitting balls, she's right in there. Doesn't want to miss out. So it's cool. I mean, I would love for her to play golf, definitely. I think it's an amazing game, obviously, but it's just happened organically, and she seems into it, so we'll see where that goes.
Corey, I think one of the fun things about watching you and the rest of the Canadian contingent this year is just how strong it feels like Canadian golf is. With Nick Taylor winning, that event, and the way that he did was unbelievable. Tell us a little bit just about like the culture of growing up playing golf in Canada, and what other sports did you play, and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's been really fun to be a Canadian on the PGA Tour right now. The Canadian golf is significantly on the rise, and it's just great to be a part of it. We're all motivating each other. We're all really close friends and all supporting each other. So watching Nick win the RBC Canadian Open was unbelievable. It's been so long since Canadian had won our national championship, and Mac Hughes had a win this season. Adam Svensson had a win. Adam Hadwin had a great year. A bunch of other Canadians out here, and more coming. So it's exciting, to be a part of that. But growing up in Canada, I think Canadians are crazy about all sports, and golf's no different. So many people play golf. It's a really popular sport. Unfortunately, where I grew up, the golf season's only about 6 months. So, you can't enjoy it all year round, but for those 6 months, the people are definitely wearing it out, and just love getting outside. And growing up, I'd play golf 6 months. I'd get a year's worth of golf in those 6 months, definitely. I lived at the golf course, worked there, and, basically all my childhood, remember just beating up the local Listowel Golf Club. Played pretty much every sport in high school. I was an avid hockey player as well, starting when I was like 4 years old until the end of high school. So that was another big passion of mine, and I'm a big hockey fan, follow the Toronto Maple Leafs, which pretty standard for people from Ontario, Canada. But throughout high school, played badminton, volleyball, really liked those sports. Played on the basketball team for a few years. Played some baseball as a kid. Just, love sports, loved, competing and hanging out with friends, and growing up in a small town, a lot of the people I played sports with were the same in every sport. So we had a lot of fun together, and we were all really close friends. So that was cool.
When did golf emerge as like, okay, I'm gonna specialize in golf? I mean, you played everything, and I'm also curious about just the transfer of skills from hockey to golf. It seems like so many hockey players turn in or just naturally good golfers.
Yeah, I think there was a moment when I was 14 years old where could have stepped up my level of hockey and sort of decreased the amount of golf, but I kind of chose golf, saw possible future with that, and so kind of took a step back with the hockey, and just went back to my local town to play for a local team instead of traveling as much as I could have possibly, and just put a little more focus onto my golf game then, definitely. As far as the hockey and golf translation, I think the motion of shooting a hockey puck, the slap shot, there's a lot of mechanics that are pretty similar to the golf swing, the way your body moves, and it's funny. A lot of hockey players are pretty good golfers and can hit it a long way. So
They all hit those hard hooks too.
Yeah,
just like a booming hook.
it's the hand motion's a little bit different because you're kind of flipping your hands are separated on
Right.
a hockey stick, and you're kind of flipping your hands over a little bit on some shots using your right hand a little more than you would want to ideally on a golf swing. But a lot of the hockey players I've played with, really powerful guys, and they smoke it.
Corey, can you give us like your handicap, what you're good and bad at basketball and also hockey? Like, were you like a 2 handicap in hockey? Like, how good were you?
Basketball, I wasn't particularly great. I think I just used my athleticism to hide my weaknesses.
You're
I
like a shooter?
wasn't a
What'd you play?
particularly great shooter. I was a guard.
Okay.
Would kind of bring the ball up, but not a shooter. More of a playmaker. It was kind of
Gotcha.
similar in hockey as well. I would be just as satisfied getting a nice assist as scoring a goal. So, but basketball, I'm probably a 10 handicap. Nothing special, but could get by. But hockey, definitely, I would say I was a scratch, and
Okay.
could have definitely couldn't have played in the NHL, but could have moved along in hockey and been at some higher levels.
We've talked about the boom of Canadian golf. I'm assuming Mike Weir was a big part of this kind of growing up. When you have a short season, 6 months of golf being available, and then obviously you've got to focus on other things, or you've got to go inside and practice, how do you convince your parents? How do you convince coaches and your friends, this is the sport I'm going to focus on? Because, I mean, it almost be like living in a landlocked area and wanting to sail. It's like there's not a whole bunch of availability for it.
Yeah, I think I was lucky throughout the summer having great access to a facility, that was really nice. Had 27 holes, the Listowel Golf Club, and a nice range, and was able to find space on the golf course. Wasn't afraid to go play by myself and make games and drop a ball at 100 yards every hole and see if I could be 3, 4, 5 under par. I think my parents were really supportive in whatever I wanted to do, and it was basically on me. If whatever I wanted, they were going to support. So, I put a lot of time into honing my craft on the golf course, and I think they saw that. So they were definitely really supportive of that. But yeah, I enjoyed playing the other sports as well. And to be honest, throughout the winter time, I really didn't play a whole lot of golf. I think that changed towards the end of high school with the Canadian national development team. Was part of the national team when I was 16 years old, and throughout the winter months, we would travel to training camps and, be able to, try and stay as sharp as possible. And then, that led into going to college at Kent State on a golf scholarship. And again, parents were supportive in whatever I wanted to do.
So Corey, at Kent State, you studied actuary math. So this is like business risk assessment and things of that nature, right? So tell us the story of why you chose to study math, and then do you use any of those skills either in looking at your stats or planning tournament schedules or anything of that nature?
Yeah, it certainly doesn't sound like a very exhilarating major to anyone else, but I think I definitely enjoyed that. I actually started in a science program. I worked in a pharmacy through high school and had possible aspirations as a backup plan to maybe get into that. So I started in a science program in biochemistry, and the lab time that was required for the biology and chemistry courses was not ideal.
You're out on that.
For practicing. I was okay with it. My coach was like, we got to stop. We got to stop missing every practice. Every afternoon I'm sitting in a science
is the wrong
lab.
major.
So that was my first year and a half, I think. And at that point I was like, well, I'm open to switching. I want to, make sure I can still focus on golf as much as possible. So what are my other options? And, I was passionate about mathematics as well, and finance, and this actuarial math kind of fit the bill, and didn't really have to, change too much about the direction I was going. So, I was taking a lot of the prerequisites for both, regardless. And yeah, it was fun. There was a small class. I think there was like 10 or 12 of us. We pretty much had all the classes together the junior and senior years, and we became close friends, and we'd study together. And it was a good time. Missing class is difficult. I think the golfers miss a lot of class because we travel for 3, 4, 5 days for tournaments, and you're out of class those days. So classmates and professors were quite supportive and helping me make up work, and answering questions or helping me get through it.
One of the great compliments that a professional golfer could get is being called a flusher. Now, you're a guy that is being called a flusher basically since you started to hit golf balls. What does it mean when other pros say, this guy's a flusher? And who are some people that you feel like you look at and go, my goodness, you should see this guy hit a golf ball?
Yeah, it's obviously a huge compliment, and something that I feel like I was kind of blessed with, and sort of always hit the ball well. I got some good guidance from a young age, and it feels pretty cool when other pros recognize that skill, as obviously there's a ton of world-class players out here and world-class talent. I love watching Rory hit a ball. It's just majestic. And I don't really see myself in the same category necessarily of flusher as a guy like him, but like playing with Colin Morikawa as well. Really, really solid. It's kind of cool where he predominantly hits fades and I predominantly hit draws. So we kind of are both curving it back to the target different ways. And both do hit it pretty nice. So
when you say you're not in the same class as a Rory or a Colin, when you kind of think about that in your brain, do you force yourself to look at stats, to look at where you landed on a page at the end of the tournament, to actually go kind of against maybe what you think as you're watching a Rory McIlroy up close going, oh my goodness, I can't do what he does. Then you look at the stat sheet and it says you can do what he does.
Yeah, I do a little bit. It's definitely gratifying to see some of the stats. I think more so kind of at the end of the year on a week-to-week basis, I kind of realize, if I hit it well or what I was doing well or what I was doing poorly for that matter. But kind of at the end of the year, and you kind of get the cumulative work, tallied up and can see, how my skills were. It's pretty cool being near the top of the ball striking categories.
Corey, you work with Derek Ingram as one of our Ping ambassadors. What type of things? How long have you worked with him? And what type of things do you work on? Like if your iron play driving gets a little bit off, what are your tendencies? What do you guys work on?
Yeah, I've worked with Derek Ingram for a long time, and owe him a lot of credit to my success. He's an unbelievable guy, unbelievable coach, and incredibly knowledgeable in the game of golf and many other areas. But worked together since I was on the national team, probably 15 years now. And remembering back some of the years when I was still part of the national development program, I think he and I spent more days together, on the road, working on my game than he spent at home with his wife. So I, owe his wife a lot of credit too for putting up with him, but he's just an awesome guy. And what we've been working on really hasn't changed much over the years. A lot of it just stems from, my setup position. There's a few little keys that I like to feel on the takeaway of my swing and kind of just get the good rhythm started going in the right direction. And, continuing to work on using my body more. As I start playing more tournaments in a row, I feel like, my hands take over a little bit and become a little less consistent. So just really try and simplify things as much as possible. But the biggest key for me, it just stems from the setup, my setup position, alignment, which is, quite basic, but it's something that's very important. If I'm set up well, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to hit it well.
You've played some really consistent major championship golf over the last few years. You played well at Augusta. You've played well at the PGA Championship a couple times the last 3 years. Had a good finish at the Open a couple years ago. What has to go into a good week at a major championship? And as you kind of look at the way you've played in those majors, what's that next step or what's that next thing that you need to do to go from the top 10 and the top 8 finish to top 2, top 3 really in contention on a Sunday?
Yeah, it's the majors. I would say I'm getting more comfortable in. Definitely, they've all kind of been a little bit of a learning experience for me. And week in and week out on the PGA Tour, we're playing at the same courses. And apart from the Masters, the other major championship venues change. So there's a bit of a learning curve to try and figure out those venues. This past spring at the PGA Championship, I had played at Oak Hill before. Didn't remember it great, but like had some familiarity, which I think helped. Got off to a really good start there and kind of got myself in the mix. Going into the final round. But the other majors, they're so fun to be at a major championship. It's just got a special feeling to it, and it requires everything to be clicking. To get yourself near the top of the leaderboard. There's so many talented players, and the venues are all really challenging in different ways, but. Everything's got to be clicking, and I've tried to kind of build my schedule to where I feel like I'm going to be as much rested, but also playing well.
What does that look like for you specifically? Because everybody likes to change their schedule differently. I mean, Phil used to play the week before. Tiger would always take it off. What's kind of the best recipe for Corey Conners going into major weeks?
Yeah, I think I think playing the week before is helpful because you can definitely see where your game's at. But I just don't want to play a major championship that's my sort of fourth week in a row because physically, mentally, you're going to be a little bit burnt out. So there's been a few major championships where I've had the week off before. I enjoy playing the Scottish Open before the Open Championship. I've had some good success at the Valero Texas Open before Augusta, so probably continue doing that. I think some of the U.S. Open venues, it's fallen right after the RBC Canadian Open the last few years, which is another major in my mind.
Must play.
So the U.S. Open venues I think are very challenging, and I hadn't played any of the venues that I've played a U.S. Open at before. So again, trying to learn the golf course and figure out what it's going to take to be successful. I think important, but those weeks can get long with the preparation. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, a lot of energy management, sounds like. Corey, you won the Valero Texas Open in 19 and 23. What is it, kind of to juxtapose that a little bit, that one course that you think has suited your game well? The conditions, the turf, the wind, the breeze, the Bermuda. I mean, what is it that has really synced up with your game?
Yeah, I think ever since the first time I played there, I really loved the golf course. I think the week overall is awesome. The hotel is right on site, the JW Marriott. So logistically the week is really easy.
Yeah.
There's great facilities there. And I think the golf course is really demanding off the tee and into the greens, which, plays into some strengths of my game, hitting it well off the tee and I'm hitting good iron shots. I think a lot of the tee shots set up pretty nicely for a draw, some of the trickier tee shots. So I'm pretty comfortable turning the ball right to left off the tee. And it's definitely, important there and kind of, fits into my game nicely. And around the greens is pretty treacherous there as well. But, if you're able to hit solid iron shots to the right parts of the green, you can give yourself some good luck. So it's just a place I felt really comfortable on. And, winning again this year, I definitely drew on my experience in 19, coming down the stretch and made me feel a lot more comfortable. So just a place I feel comfortable, and I'm hoping to add more places I feel comfortable like that in the future.
Corey, you mentioned the Marriott's close. I mean, these are little things I don't know if like golf fans realize, like the benefits of being close to a golf course or liking the hotel or liking a restaurant close to close to a facility. Golf's 4 or 5 hours. You practice for an hour or two, maybe on the front or the back end, and you have a lot of downtime. What's a Corey Conners week in terms of downtime when you're playing in a tournament?
Yeah, I've been fortunate. My wife and daughter Reese have traveled with me quite a lot, so it's really fun having them there. And the first few days of the week. Usually take it pretty easy on Monday. I'll play 9 or 18 on Tuesday with a good practice session. Tuesday's usually, one of my fuller days, I guess, or I'm at the course most of the day. Checking out the golf course, trying to fine tune all the skills. Pro-Am Wednesday, get in a little practice. Usually play the Pro-Ams in the morning, so a little practice, have some lunch, and then go spend some time with the girls in the afternoon. It's really fun having my daughter and wife on the road. Just, I don't know, a little normalcy when you're traveling. So.
Do you notice when they're not on the road, if you have a bad round or if you don't play well, do you notice that frustration like lingering versus when they are on the road, you can go out and go, I got to go see the family. Like they don't care really what I shot.
Yeah. My daughter definitely doesn't care what I shot. She's pumped up to see dad
Dad's home.
every time. So, but yeah, I think I'm definitely, when I'm by myself, definitely more consumed by golf and just thinking about my round or thinking about the next day, way more than I would be when they're around, and I can, shut my mind off and just have fun coloring and reading books.
Corey, you've played a number of different PLD putters. Tell us a little bit about how that process has gone for you in terms of things we've customized for you in the putter, some things that might be super important to you that we were able to do with those PLDs, and which one you're playing now. Is it the Tyne?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah. So all through my time at Kent State was a Answer putter user, like the blade feel and sort of the flow of the stroke with that. Used a blade putter when I first got on tour. Switched to a sort of a mid mallet PLD. Just trying to get a little bit more consistency, and had success with that. Went back to a blade again, and had some success there. Again, fell into a funk and tried out the mallet putter, the Tyne that I'm using now. I switched away from that for probably about a year to I think the Oslo model, and sort of messed around with a couple different hosel types there. I guess the Answer 2 sort of hosel that I'm most comfortable with. Was able to customize the Oslo with the Answer 3 neck, which is kind of like a little bit of a slant neck. So having that capability was really cool. Ultimately went back to the Tyne again. It served me well over the last the season. Really, I felt like I've been a little bit more consistent still. Trying to work hard on that area of my game and get the ball in the hole a little better. But my bad weeks aren't as bad, and starting to have some pretty good weeks that are, keeping me in tournaments or getting me up near the top of the leaderboard. So the customization of the PLD is really cool, and changing the finish. Got the black finish on my putter now. Just think, all the design features of the putters, it just frames the ball really nicely, and something that it's cool to be able to mess around with, and easy to find something you like.
Marty, you know what this sounds like? Sounds like somebody needs more PLDs in the golf
exactly.
He's just trying to fill up the golf room. Add a few different models.
I'm just trying to get some gold ones and try and get the biggest.
You got two.
Try and get the biggest putter model available. So
there are some wild ones in the vault I've seen. There are a few Lee Westwood models in there. That are pretty massive.
Lee's got quite a mix in there. Very, very fun mix.
Corey, when Canadian sports are on TV and you're playing golf, do you think about what's going on in the back of your mind? Do you have like a caddy check the score? Are you trying not to think about that? Like if it's a big, like Stanley Cup Finals or, Olympic match, like is that going on in the back of your brain, or can you kind of shove that out?
Yeah, I can shut it out a little bit. It's always, I'm always kind of thinking about it. If there's something really big happening, someone in the crowd's probably yelling at me to keep me updated. So, but I'm not super crazy about that. Fortunately, the, big Toronto Maple Leafs fan, probably my favorite professional sports team, big hockey fan in general, but their games are typically in the evening, so I'm off the golf course and
you'll be done working.
I can tune in on my laptop or iPad in the hotel room, but see a lot of the English guys kind of checking up or a little more curious on some of the soccer football scores. I'm not not crazy about that.
Yeah, the NFL game goes on like noon. If you got like the 1 p.m. Eastern game and your team's playing and you're kind of in the hunt on a Sunday, it's like, I might check the score after 9, just see what we're doing. But yeah, hockey in the evening. You mentioned RBC Canadian Open major. I mean, you said that. When you go to that event, what's it like in terms of being a Canadian player, playing it, getting himself in contention, and the fans' reaction? Does it feel as big to you as a President's Cup as a major championship does?
Yeah, it feels massive. My mug is plastered all over billboards and things around the clubhouse. So it's kind of weird, but it feels huge. The Canadians love sports. The Canadians love they're Canadian golfers, and it's a pretty special feeling teeing it up in that event. And played pretty well the last couple of years. I hadn't had much success there, but it's been really fun to get in the mix, and you just feel so much support from all the fans. It's an unbelievable feeling, and something that I look forward to continuing to have for many years into the future.
Well, it's just so interesting. Like, I mean, I think as golfers, we are conditioned to think every golfer wants to win the Masters and the U.S. Open and the Open Championship. And I remember when Max Homa won Riv, and he said, this is the event I wanted to win the most of every golf tournament out there. I mean, do you feel like that with the Canadian Open? I mean, does it feel like even as much that would come with the major championship victory, if you were able to snag one of those, I mean, would that be the career highlight for you?
It would definitely be. I'd be lying if I said a major championship wouldn't be ahead of the RBC Canadian Open for me. It's just they're historic championships. Right? They're the majors, but it's a very, very close runner-up would be winning the RBC Canadian Open, and I'm definitely inspired by watching Nick Taylor win this year, and looking forward to getting some more cracks at it. But it's a really special event, and yeah, it's way up there for sure.
And you didn't get tackled.
I didn't get tackled.
You avoided.
No.
I couldn't swerved.
I couldn't find my bottle of champagne. Fortunately, or I may have gotten tackled.
You might have gotten a chest injury.
I also give Hadman a hard time. I was like, yeah, he looked at both of us and said, I'm tackling this guy. So
I'll take the younger guy out.
The smaller guy. He's older.
Corey, you had the honor of playing in the Olympics. Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah. It's funny, like I didn't dream of being an Olympian when I was a kid because golf wasn't in the Olympics. Exactly. But ever since I think the Olympics in Rio, it was kind of on my radar, and it was a huge goal. But, wow, it'd be really cool. I can represent Canada, at the Olympics, and being an Olympian is kind of a pretty cool thing to have on your resume. And it was an incredible honor, to make that team, and the experience was really, really cool. So played in Tokyo in 2021, and still pretty locked down with restrictions. Yeah. So we weren't able to go and watch other events. Every time the Olympics was on when I was a kid, I was always tuned in, whether it was summer or winter Olympics, watching all the sports and cheering on the Canadians. So would have been cool to get to experience some of those other events and cheer on some of the other fellow Canadians. But just getting introduced, putting on the Canada shirt was pretty cool feeling and incredible honor, and still hopefully have a few more in my future, and going to keep working hard to try and make the Canadian Olympic team for Paris next year.
There is something about the Olympics, especially in golf, that I really appreciate, and that is the fact that week in and week out we talk about the winner in golf, and that's it. And you can have a good week and finish 4th or 8th or 12th even and have a great week. I hit the ball great. Maybe I didn't make as many putts. I love the fact that there's a celebration for that top 3 position, and we celebrate it even in a sport that doesn't typically celebrate it. Do you wish there was a little more of that in golf, where 2nd and 3rd was appreciated maybe a little bit more than it is, considering there's 140 guys teeing it up every week?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly appreciate, the weeks, even if I don't win, having a solid finish. Get yourself in the top 10, you feel pretty good about yourself after the week. The Olympics is unique in that aspect where, gold, silver, bronze, top 3 get recognized. I'm fine with golf being the way it is. I can fly under the radar and be happy with some solid weeks, I guess. But that aspect of the Olympics is pretty cool. And, you're obviously fighting for the gold medal, playing for the gold medal, but there's a couple consolation prizes that are pretty good as well.
Yeah, I mean, that playoff for the bronze, I mean, I remember we were calling the action, and it was like, it felt like you were calling the final championship putt, right? And this was for third place, and you had these big names in it, and you obviously had countrymen involved. I mean, it was really, really cool. And again, I like we were talking about your major record. I mean, you play 3 straight years of the Masters, you finished top 10 3 straight years, yet it seems like the only kind of conversation point is who wins, not the guy that's played as, arguably as consistent in golf as anybody at Augusta National the last 3 years.
Yeah, that I remember watching that playoff as well. It was really cool, and yeah, it's a big deal. It's just something unique and something different. The Olympics is pretty special. But yeah, like my record at Augusta, some top 10 finishes. Definitely felt good, and was proud of that. But yeah, wasn't really talked about much because I don't have a green jacket.
That's right.
Just black and blue ones in the closet at home.
I mean, listen, you can start to think though. I mean, I don't know if Poutine has been involved in a Masters before. Maybe Mike Weir had it somewhere in there, but at least throw it maybe in the conversation, right?
Yeah, would have to
put the tuck the napkin in.
Probably mix that in. Yeah, it can get messy, but. It's
Corey, how much do you think drawing the golf balls helped you at Augusta? Like, is it a significant? I mean, I've been there, I've walked around it. I haven't been back on the either new or old tee on 13 or some of those holes. Even 2T. How much of an advantage is it for you? Because so many of the other players here hit the cuts out there nowadays, right-handed golfers.
Yeah, I really think that the right to left ball flight, fits in at Augusta National really, really well. There's a few tee shots that are kind of tricky that I find difficult. The first, I think everybody finds the first difficult. Yeah. It's not very wide, but hitting a draw off of that tee, I don't quite hit it far enough that I can get myself into trouble. So there's still room out there. The eighth. Is another one where it's kind of tricky to fit a draw into that fairway. Again, the fairway's pretty wide, and I've been able to hit plenty of good shots there. But so many of the tee shots, I think, really shape up nicely for a draw. Even the seventh is a really straight hole, but you can fit a draw in there nicely. The 13th stands out definitely, and even 14, being able to hit it right to left is great. But 13, hitting it right to left, trying to sneak it around the corner a little bit it's definitely the ideal shape.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason there's been so much lefty success there over the last few years, and it's because if you hit that big booming cut, I mean, we saw obviously Bubba hit that shot on 13 in 2014 that everybody thought was going to be lost, and he had wedge in. I mean, if you can move it in that direction, you can have some success at that golf course.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and even some of the iron shots as well. You can hitting it right to left. I've found comfort in that on a number of the hole locations and a number of the holes as well.
Corey, obviously you're wearing President's Cup gear. When the President's Cup ends now for you, when do you start thinking about the next time you could play or potentially make the team?
Yeah, it's
pretty
the next
quick.
President's Cup, has been looking forward to, ever since, leaving Charlotte, really.
Yeah.
In my home country in Canada. Mike Weir being the captain, someone I idolized and really looked up to as a young Canadian golfer. It's going to be massive there, and definitely going to be working really, really hard to try and earn my spot on that team. It's it feels special to be a part of that group, and it'll feel extra special to be on home soil with Mike as a captain, and hopefully myself and some other Canadians can play their way on that team as well, because we've all been trending in the right direction over this past season, so hopefully that can continue, and we'll definitely have some hometown support there, I think, in Montreal. So definitely, big goal of mine, coming in, to next season. And yeah, it'll be pretty amazing to get to be a part of that team.
Are you good about setting goals and it not feeling intimidating? I mean, something like this where obviously there's not very many players that are going to make a President's Cup team. When you write that down, or obviously the President's Cup is going to Canada and it'd be a big deal to be on that team, does that add weight on your shoulders, or is that something you can handle pretty well? Yeah,
I'm definitely good about writing down some goals, and I've been able to handle that pretty well. I think it's just each week is a huge week, honestly, out here on the PGA Tour. So really trying to take care of business week in and week out. And, if you do that consistently enough for, a long enough time, the other big goals are going to fall into place and take care of themselves. So, it's definitely beyond my goals for next year, making the President's Cup team. But, I think I'm pretty good at, taking it week by week and, working hard on the game on the off weeks and making sure I'm ready to go every week. And, those cumulative results will speak for themselves.
Corey, Canadians are chill. I'd say for the most part, very chill people, easygoing, fun to hang out with. Which American professional golfer has the most Canadian in them, in your opinion? Is there somebody that stands out that when you look at, you go, you could pass as a Canadian. You kind of got that in you.
I'm not really sure. We kind of are a Canadian fraternity out here where we spend a lot of time together. Not that I'm opposed to any Americans getting in there, but no one really comes to mind off the top of my head. A lot of guys are really nice.
That's what I was going to say. The relaxed nature of professional golf.
So many guys are really, really nice. I'd welcome any of them as a Canadian.
Why aren't there any lefties now in the Canadian
It's
fraternity?
a great point.
Yeah,
It's a great point.
And do you do anything left-handed?
I write left-handed.
You do?
But then I do everything else right-handed.
Why aren't there any lefties?
It's a good
It's
question.
like-
So wait,
I don't know.
you
Statistically-
write lefty, so you drag across the ink.
I do. My hand gets
You drag
pretty
across
dirty
the
when
ink. You
I'm.
should have gone righty with it.
Well,
I'm the same.
it's funny. I
You write lefty too.
my
I do everything lefty. I write righty. It's so weird.
That is weird. Yeah, my dad just flipped me around when I was a kid. Said I was doing it backwards. So I actually could play golf when I was a junior golfer with my friends. I'd play lefty once in a while and could
was the game?
beat up on them. Not too bad. I think I haven't really. That was probably stopped when I was like 14 or 15. But couple 9-hole games and high 30s or 40.
Oh,
so
wow. You're like VJ level.
Yeah.
Could come in handy for a shot.
You never know.
Sometime.
Although
not the way you drive it though.
That's
Yeah.
right. He doesn't hit many spots where you'd have to flip him around.
I think over the last few years I've tried to pull that at one time on like a green side shot and just totally butchered it and was like, oh, there you go.
I'm going to stick to a righty with the
Yeah.
golf. I'll right lefty. I'll play golf righty. Well, Corey, we really appreciate the time. Good luck the rest of the year. Excited to see you on that President's Cup team, and we appreciate you taking some time.
Yeah, thanks guys. Good joining you.
That was
This
awesome, Corey.
is the Ping Proving Grounds podcast.